Tonight we begin with a major shift in American energy policy, one that could redefine the nation's approach to natural resource management and environmental stewardship for decades to come. President Joe Biden has announced a permanent ban on all new offshore oil and gas drilling across vast stretches of the U.S. coastline. This bold move is seen as a cornerstone of his administration's environmental agenda, aiming to pivot the country towards a more sustainable future. Using his authority under the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, this executive order puts millions of acres off limits to future drilling, aiming to protect marine ecosystems and coastal communities. The decision underscores a commitment to preserving the natural beauty and biodiversity of these regions, which are home to countless species and vital to the health of our planet. The administration frames this as a generational move to combat climate change and fulfill promises to environmental advocates. By taking this step, the president hopes to inspire other nations to follow suit, setting a global precedent for environmental responsibility. Environmental groups are celebrating, calling it a landmark victory for ocean protection and renewable energy. They argue that this decision will accelerate the transition to cleaner energy sources, such as wind and solar, which are already making significant strides in reducing carbon emissions. Meanwhile, oil and gas leaders and their political allies argue the ban threatens energy independence and jobs, setting the stage for fierce political and legal battles. They warn that this could lead to increased energy costs and reliance on foreign oil, potentially impacting the economy and national security. This decision touches on some of the nation's most divisive issues: government's role in the economy, the balance between environmental protection and energy security, and the future of American power. It raises questions about how the U.S. will meet its energy needs while addressing the urgent threat of climate change. The debate over this sweeping ban is just beginning, with consequences that will reach every American. As the nation grapples with these complex challenges, the outcome of this policy could shape the future of energy and environmental policy for generations to come. To truly grasp the scale of this historic decision, imagine more than 625 million acres of federally controlled waters, an expanse even larger than the entire state of Alaska, now placed under new restrictions. These waters, stretching across thousands of miles of U.S. coastline, represent some of the most ecologically significant and economically valuable marine environments in the country. These vast areas are now officially closed to any new oil and gas exploration or drilling. No new leases will be issued, and the once anticipated expansion of offshore energy development has come to a halt in these regions. The ocean, once dotted with the promise of new rigs and platforms, will remain undisturbed, at least for the foreseeable future. The ban is sweeping in its reach. It covers the entire Atlantic coast, stretching from the rocky shores of Maine all the way down to the sun-soaked beaches of Florida. It also includes the eastern Gulf of Mexico, particularly the waters near Florida, and the full length of the Pacific coast off California, Oregon, and Washington. These are not just lines on a map, they are home to vibrant marine ecosystems, bustling coastal communities, and millions of Americans who rely on these waters for their livelihoods and recreation. For decades, local opposition to offshore drilling has been strong, especially in communities where tourism, fishing, and recreation are the backbone of the economy. Grassroots activism, public protests, and persistent advocacy have finally shaped federal policy, turning local concerns into national action. The voices of coastal residents, environmentalists, and business owners have been heard at the highest levels. In Alaska, the northern Bering Sea Climate Resilience Area receives special protection. This region is not only a haven for unique marine life, like walruses, whales, and countless seabirds, but also a vital resource for indigenous communities who have depended on these waters for generations. The new protections aim to safeguard both the fragile ecosystem and the cultural heritage of the people who call this region home. This executive order brings together a diverse array of regions under a unified policy of preservation. From the Atlantic to the Pacific and up to the Arctic, it creates a protective shield around much of the nation's coastline, ensuring that these treasured places remain intact for future generations to enjoy and cherish. It's important to note that existing drilling operations in the central and western Gulf of Mexico will continue as before. The industry's current footprint remains, but it cannot expand into these newly protected zones. This means that while some energy production persists, the door to new offshore development in these sensitive areas is now firmly closed. The sheer size and breadth of this moratorium fundamentally redraw the U.S. energy map for years to come. The areas available for offshore oil and gas exploration have been dramatically reduced, signaling a major shift in national priorities toward conservation and sustainable use of marine resources. This is widely regarded as one of the most comprehensive conservation actions in American history. It marks a turning point in how the nation balances energy needs with environmental protection, setting a precedent for future generations. The implications for both the environment and the energy industry are enormous. While it promises cleaner, healthier oceans and coastlines, it also challenges the industry to adapt and innovate. The story of America's coasts is entering a new chapter, one defined by preservation, resilience, and hope for the future. Why is this decision happening now? What's driving the urgency to act at this moment, and what's at stake for both the environment and the people who depend on it? The administration points to three main reasons for the ban: low resource potential, high environmental risk, and the critical need to protect coastal economies that rely on healthy ecosystems. These factors, they argue, make new drilling projects not only unnecessary, but potentially disastrous. According to internal government assessments, the targeted areas in Alaska and the Arctic hold little promise for major oil discoveries. The likelihood of finding significant new reserves is low, which means the potential rewards simply don't justify the enormous risks involved in drilling in such sensitive regions. The memory of catastrophic events like the Deepwater Horizon oil spill still lingers. That disaster caused massive harm to marine life, devastated coastal habitats, and left communities struggling for years. It serves as a stark reminder of what's at risk if things go wrong. Even routine oil and gas operations can disrupt delicate Arctic ecosystems. The noise, pollution, and physical presence of drilling infrastructure threaten wildlife, from migratory birds to polar bears, and can permanently alter landscapes that have remained untouched for millennia. By enacting this ban, the administration aims to take a proactive step, preventing irreversible damage before it happens, and ensuring that these wild places remain intact for future generations to experience and enjoy. Alaska's coastal economies are deeply intertwined with the health of the ocean. Industries like fishing, tourism, and outdoor recreation depend on clean water and thriving wildlife. These sectors generate billions of dollars in revenue each year and support thousands of local jobs. An oil spill or major accident could devastate these industries overnight, closing fisheries, driving away tourists, and putting entire communities at risk. The administration argues that protecting these economic engines is a smarter, more sustainable, long-term investment than short-term oil profits. In their view, this ban is about more than just environmental stewardship. It's about safeguarding economic security, community well-being, and the natural heritage that defines Alaska's identity. This decision lands in the middle of a heated debate about America's energy future. Supporters see the ban as a crucial step against climate change, keeping fossil fuels in the ground and pushing for a renewable future. Critics argue it could raise energy costs and increase reliance on foreign oil, hurting working families. Some experts note that oil from the Gulf of Mexico is cleaner than global averages, so shifting production abroad could worsen emissions. The core conflict: should government force a clean energy transition, or let the market decide? This ban is a clear win for government intervention, but the debate over the best path forward is far from settled. The stakes are high for both the environment and the economy. In many regions, offshore drilling was already blocked by decades of local and state opposition. Bipartisan coalitions along the Atlantic and Pacific coasts have long fought to protect their economies and way of life from oil exploration. President Biden's order federalizes this grassroots resistance, turning a patchwork of local laws into a unified national policy. This move provides permanent protection, ensuring future state leaders can't easily reverse course. The ban is as much a bottom-up victory for coastal communities as it is a top-down federal action. It gives these regions lasting certainty that their coastlines are safe from new drilling. The ban's announcement sparked immediate backlash, with President-elect Trump vowing to reverse it. But undoing the order isn't simple. The Outer Continental Shelflands Act's language is ambiguous, and legal scholars disagree on whether a future president can easily overturn such withdrawals. The issue is likely headed for a lengthy court battle, creating years of uncertainty for the energy industry. Environmental groups are preparing to defend the ban, arguing it was meant to be permanent. The most definitive reversal would require an act of Congress, a tough sell given strong coastal opposition. Even pro-energy lawmakers from affected states face pressure to keep protections in place. This means the ban could prove far more durable than critics hope. For most Americans, the big question is, will this raise my energy costs? Critics say restricting new drilling will eventually drive up prices by limiting domestic supply and increasing reliance on foreign oil. They argue this ban is the latest in a series of policies that have contributed to higher energy prices. Supporters counter that the ban only affects areas with little oil potential and no current production, so the short-term impact on prices will be minimal. They also point out that global oil prices are set by international markets, not just U.S. supply. In the long run, they argue, the ban will accelerate investment in renewables, leading to cheaper, more stable energy. The real impact on your bill may depend on how quickly the clean energy transition unfolds. As President Biden's term ends, this offshore drilling ban stands as the capstone of his climate agenda. From canceling the Keystone XL pipeline to this sweeping order, his administration has favored direct government action over market incentives. The strategy: use executive power to push the nation away from fossil fuels and toward clean energy. Supporters hail him as a climate champion, while critics blame his policies for higher costs and constrained energy independence. This ban is a legacy-defining move, intended to outlast his presidency. Whether seen as visionary or overreaching, it has fundamentally shaped the nation's energy debate. The impact of this decision will be felt for years to come. This ban doesn't end the debate over America's energy future, it intensifies it. Legal and political battles are certain, with the next administration promising reversal and environmental groups vowing to defend the order. The courts will decide if one president can bind another, while Congress and public opinion will shape the policy's fate. The ban has become a symbol in the larger culture war over climate change and government's role. At its core, the nation must weigh the value of more domestic oil against the preservation of its coastlines. The answers aren't easy, but this executive order has forced a national reckoning. The outcome will define not just a presidency, but America's relationship with its environment for decades.